My name is Adam Andrzejewski, and I'm the founder and CEO of OpenTheBooks.com. And you know our mission. Simply said, it's every dime online in real time. And to that end, last year, our auditors at OpenTheBooks.com, we filed 47,000 Freedom of Information Act requests. That was the most in American history. And we successfully captured $12 trillion of federal, state, and local spending. We do this so you can follow the money. This week, we've got another great report. We're making all kinds of national media on our oversight report on the White House payroll disclosures. Those came out on July 1st. Last week, right here on the Ripoff of the Week, we talked about our Where's the Pork report, and we made tons of national media, TV, newspapers, editorials, our own op-eds. The New York Post did a Sunday spread on 12 examples in that report. Tons of media on that report. So we're back again. Okay, we're going to dig into Joe Biden's White House payroll and his administration. Without further ado, here's my co-host, Tamara Colbert.
Good evening, Adam. Okay, White House payroll is setting all kinds of records. Give us the big picture, and then we're going to go into some of the nitty-gritty.
Well, last year, when we gave analysis of Joe Biden's White House payroll, just like this year, we were first out of the blocks, first in the nation. They post this every year on July 1st. Within 2 hours of this being disclosed, we were up with analysis. Last year at Forbes in my column, and this year on our own Substack at Open the Books. And so here's what we found. Last year, it was the most expensive White House payroll in history, and the head count was the highest ever. There has never been a White House payroll to exceed 500 employees. And last year, Joe Biden employed and disclosed 560 employees. This year, he had a turnover problem. 4 out of every 10 staffers left his employment. Tamara, can you imagine running any type of business? I don't care if it's a nonprofit, a government unit, or a for-profit company. 40% turnover, that's abject chaos. So he lost 220 staffers off of that base of 560. It was 39.3% turnover in 1 year. And so this year, his headcount is down 85 employees. It's still 100 staffers more than what Donald Trump employed in his second year at the same time as Joe Biden's second year in the presidency. Still 100 staffers more than Trump, and 5 staffers more at the same point in their presidencies than what Barack Obama employed. So Joe Biden, by any calculation, is still running a slightly shrunk down, but still bloated White House payroll.
So we have a very interesting person who wins the award for the highest paid Joe Biden staffer. Who is that?
Well, there's like 7 billion people in this world, Tamara, but the same names keep getting recycled.
Right.
So the highest paid White House staffer now is Francis Collins. Who's Francis Collins? He's the immediate past director of the National Institutes of Health, Anthony Fauci's employer. Now, if memory serves, and I didn't prep it before this segment, but I think he was making $225,000 as the director of NIH, a prominent federal agency. In the Biden administration, he is the acting science advisor, and he's making $300,000. I've never seen, all the way back to 2009, our organization at OpenTheBooks.com, we've been giving oversight to the White House payroll. We have never seen anybody make $300,000 on the White House payroll, except obviously for the president, who makes $400,000 a year. And it's not all of what Francis Collins is making, because he's still collecting his third-party paid hidden royalties. We don't know who's paying him because the name of the payer has been redacted. We don't know the amount. All we can tell is that he's still receiving royalties through the latest disclosures.
That's unbelievable. Well, now, we know the employees, we know there's a very significant turnover rate, and even with turnover, Joe Biden is still running the most expensive White House in history. Share with us some of the numbers of what we're talking about.
So the reason I like White House payroll is you get a really solid sense of where the administration is going, what their priorities are. So we all remember last August when the Taliban was overrunning Afghanistan and Biden pulled what he called was the most successful extraction of a military force out of a country in all of human history. And at openthebooks.com, we proved that just wasn't true with the tens of millions and hundreds of millions, billions of dollars worth of US taxpayer provided military gear left behind. Well, on the White House payroll, you got 8 employees dedicated to national security. The world is a hotbed right now of chaos. Many articles put us on the verge of a World War III. There's 8 employees dedicated to national security. There are 40 employees dedicated to public relations. That gives you a sense of the White House payroll. Where most of the country has moved on from COVID, you've got 19 advisors to the president with the word COVID in their job title. Again, you have 8 dedicated to national security, 19 dedicated to COVID. You've got 11 staffers dedicated to climate change, all sorts of facets of climate change, including climate change funding, whatever that is, or climate change financing. Again, 11 for climate change, 8 for national security. So this gives you a sense of the administration's priorities or lack thereof.
Well, what's interesting is that this is now with the Biden administration, you've kind of done a comparison between Obama, Trump, and Biden over these last 16 years, if you will. What does that look like from the broad perspective?
So if we just take the first 2 years of Biden versus the first 2 years of Trump and Obama, here's what we found. That Biden spent $15 million more on White House payroll over his first 2 years than what Trump spent. And the Trump numbers are even adjusted for inflation. In nominal terms, the spread is a lot larger. Now, in terms of, because Biden had a turnover of 220 employees, Obama actually outspent him after you adjust Obama's figures for inflation. He outspent Biden by $5 million. So it does give you a sense between Democrat, Republican, and Democrat administrations of how they spend taxpayer money on their payrolls.
Well, and I think what you've shown us is that when we are looking at their payroll, it's an indicator of how that president is going to govern. Is there anything else that you've learned that you can share with what we should be thinking about for the future? I suspect, Adam, that we need to be on the ball in terms of spending and potential more COVID-related spending as we go forward between now and the end of the year.
So the White House payroll under Joe Biden is a leading indicator that he wants to expand the size, scope, and power of government at all levels with such a large, expensive White House payroll. Let me give you 2 examples of that from his first year. The 2 most highly compensated White House employees last year were his czar on immigration and border security, okay? And the second one was on broadband infrastructure. Biden got what he wanted out of the quote unquote bipartisan infrastructure bill in Congress. They got $40 billion tucked in that bill for government-owned internet. Yes, you, rather than paying, say, Comcast for your internet service, you would pay the federal government. And that is simply Soviet. But they're going to use $40 billion of our money to set that up. The second most highly compensated White House staffer last year, she spearheaded that. The border was the #1 most highly compensated staffer. She spearheaded Biden's border policy. So if you don't like his policies, you have to look right at his payroll to get their policy objectives and who spearheaded those things. This year, you've got the #1 most highly compensated, as we talked about, is the former director of NIH, Francis Collins, 300 grand. So that gives you a sense that with so much, you look at Open the Books, we're tip of the spear. We got 2 lawsuits against NIH to force open their third-party paid royalties, up to $400 million over the last 10 years that enriched the agency, its scientists, and its leadership like Collins. So we're right in the middle of this.
This is fantastic. So, Adam, where can people go? We have posted the White House payroll report, all the numbers, everything. Where should they go?
So go to openthebooks.com. Right on the homepage, right in the middle, we have our report that goes back to 2009 on White House payroll. We also have links. If you go to whitehousepayroll.substack.com, we have links directly to our website where you can review White House payrolls by year, by person, by title, how much they were paid all the way back to 2009. You can also get to that right on our homepage as well. So just come to openthebooks.com, make sure you sign up for our email list, and you can see everything. Transparency, Tamara, changes everything.
Absolutely. Transparency is revolutionary for what we, the people, get an opportunity to see how the government and the political class is spending our money. You guys, you got to see it to believe it. So go to openthebooks.com where you can learn more. You can download this report. And most importantly, please share this Facebook Live on your page, on your social sites with friends. And of course, refer a friend to also sign up for our newsletter. And you can do that at openthebooks.com. Thanks so much. We'll see you next Thursday for another episode of the Ripoff of the Week.